Are you tired of the endless search for love, feeling like you're either chasing an ideal that doesn't exist or settling for something that doesn't quite fit? What if I told you that there's a better, more practical way to approach love, one that's grounded in reality, not fantasy? No more waiting for that perfect moment or hoping for sparks that never come. In today's video, I'm diving into the pragmatic approach to finding love, and trust me, it's not what you've been told. We're breaking free from the myths of fairy tale romance and the pressure to conform to society's standards. This isn't about making compromises, it's about being honest with yourself and finding the connection that's right for you. So, if you're ready for some real talk and practical tools that you can start using today to shift the way you think about love, keep watching. This is going to challenge everything you thought you knew. Let's get into it. Number 1, swipe like a scientist. Imagine if your love life could be as methodical and rewarding as a groundbreaking experiment. Bold claim, right? Stay with me here. Because while love often feels like a mysterious force of nature, what if you approached it with the precision of a scientist? Yes, I'm suggesting you swap that romantic chaos for a touch of rationality and strategy. Before you roll your eyes and say, "Love isn't an algorithm," trust me, this isn't about turning feelings into formulas. It's about maximizing your chances of finding the connection you truly deserve. We've all been there, swiping left and right, hoping to stumble upon the one. You match, exchange a few messages, maybe go on a date or two, and then nothing. Or worse, you find yourself in a situationship that feels like a slow-motion car crash. Sound familiar? It's not your fault. Modern dating can feel like throwing darts blindfolded. But here's the thing. What if we stopped treating it like a gamble and started treating it like an experiment? Here's the twist. Swipe like a scientist. Instead of aimlessly swiping, you approach dating apps and relationships as a controlled study. First, you set your criteria. What are you truly looking for? Compatibility isn't just about liking the same Netflix shows. Think about shared values, goals, and lifestyle preferences. Once you know what you're testing for, you start experimenting. Swipe broadly, initiate conversations, and most importantly, take notes. Yes, notes. I know it sounds obsessive, but hear me out. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine, let's call her Mia, was tired of dating disasters. So she treated her love life like her graduate thesis. She listed her non-negotiables and started keeping a casual log of her dating experiences. After every date, she'd jot down what worked, what didn't, and any red flags. Soon, patterns emerged. She realized she was ignoring her gut instincts in favor of surface-level charm. The result? She started identifying real compatibility much faster, saving herself months of heartache. Here's why this works. When you document your experiences and analyze them objectively, you cut through the emotional fog. It's not about being cold or robotic, it's about clarity. And let's face it, clarity is what we all crave in the whirlwind of modern dating. This approach empowers you to take control of your choices rather than leaving them to chance. You stop wasting time on connections that don't serve you and start focusing on those that do. Now, I know what you're thinking. Doesn't this take all the fun out of dating? Not at all. Think of it as gamifying your love life. You're not just swiping, you're exploring, learning, and refining. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. And when you finally find someone who aligns with your goals and values, the victory feels all the sweeter. So here's the takeaway. Love doesn't have to be a wild, unpredictable ride. By swiping like a scientist, you reclaim your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. You deserve a relationship built on understanding and mutual respect, not a string of avoidable heartbreaks. And if treating your heart like it deserves a little research and care sounds unconventional, good, because love, at its best, is worth the effort. Number 2, the love resume. What if I told you the key to finding love might just be hiding in your job applications? Yes, you heard me right. Imagine bringing the same level of clarity, confidence, and purpose you use to land a job to the quest for a relationship. Sounds odd, maybe even a little unromantic. Stick with me, it's more exciting than it sounds, and trust me, it works. Because let's face it, in love, as in careers, clarity is everything. We've all experienced the messy, aimless stage of dating. You meet someone, you kind of like them, but you're not sure where it's going. Or worse, you're unsure what you even want. It's like applying for a job without knowing what position you're aiming for. You know the type. I'm open to anything. I just want to vibe. Or, let's see where this goes. Sound familiar? It's chaotic, and often it leaves you feeling unfulfilled and frustrated. Now here's the idea. Create a love resume. Yes, an actual written document that outlines what you bring to the table in a relationship and what you're looking for in return. Think of it as a love manifesto, a personal declaration of your qualities, values, and non-negotiables. It's not about reducing romance to a checklist. It's about knowing yourself and being intentional. When you're clear about what you want, you can confidently communicate it to others, saving everyone time and energy. Let me tell you about my friend Josh. Josh was tired of failed dates and mismatched relationships, so he took a bold step. He wrote a love resume. It wasn't fancy, just a simple list of his strengths as a partner: loyal, great listener, excellent pasta maker. His goals in a relationship: building a life together, mutual respect, and his absolute deal breakers. The process wasn't just about dating smarter, it was deeply introspective. Josh discovered things about himself he hadn't realized before, like how much he valued shared ambitions. Armed with this newfound clarity, Josh approached dating with confidence. On a first date, he casually shared his resume concept. Okay, maybe not literally showing it, but talking about it. Not only did it spark an interesting conversation, but it also set the tone for honest, intentional communication. A few months later, he met someone who matched his values perfectly. Coincidence? Maybe. But the confidence and clarity he gained from the exercise were undeniable game changers. This isn't about being rigid or scaring people off with bullet points. It's about self-awareness and communication. When you know what you want and what you're offering, you step into dating with purpose. You radiate confidence. And let me tell you, confidence is magnetic. It's also about reclaiming your time and energy. No more settling for people who can't meet you halfway. Here's the empowering truth. Crafting a love resume is about more than finding someone else. It's about rediscovering yourself. It's about recognizing your worth and refusing to compromise on your peace, your joy, and your dignity. Love isn't about filling a void. It's about amplifying the amazing person you already are. So go ahead, write it down. Own your strengths, your dreams, and your boundaries. This is your love life, and you're in charge. And when you put your best self forward, the right person won't just notice, they'll appreciate you for exactly who you are. Number 3, crowdsource. Your soulmate. What if I told you that the key to finding your soulmate could be as simple as asking for help? Sounds strange, right? Love is supposed to be spontaneous, a serendipitous moment, not something you crowdsource. But think about it. Some of the most successful aspects of our lives, from career opportunities to restaurant recommendations, come from leaning on our networks. So why not love? Yes, I'm talking about involving your friends, family, even co-workers in the most important search of your life. And before you dismiss the idea, trust me, This is not about handing out your dating profile at Thanksgiving dinner. It's much smarter and, surprisingly, a lot of fun. We've all been there. You're swiping through dating apps, attending the occasional awkward mixer, or endlessly hoping to meet someone organically at a coffee shop. Meanwhile, your friends are dropping hints about how you deserve someone amazing or shouldn't be single for long. And yet nobody steps up to help. Here's the kicker. They want to help, but they don't know how. Most of us are too shy or too proud to let them. Here's the idea. You don't just passively wait for Cupid to strike. You mobilize your personal army. You crowdsource your soulmate by actively involving the people who know you best. These are the folks who've seen you at your best and worst, who understand your quirks, and who, let's be real, are dying to set you up. Think of it like LinkedIn, but for love. You let your circle know you're open to being introduced to someone they genuinely think could be a match. No vague descriptions, no half-hearted efforts. Be specific. Tell them your non-negotiables and your ideal traits. Let me share a story. A colleague of mine, Priya, was exhausted by dating apps. One day, she casually mentioned at work that she was open to meeting someone new. Within a week, her co-worker introduced her to his brother-in-law, who was everything Priya had been looking for: kind, ambitious, and shared her love of photography. Fast forward 2 years, they're now married. The magic wasn't in the randomness. It was in Priya being open and clear about her intentions. Here's why this works. People love playing matchmaker when they're given the green light. It makes them feel involved, valued, and, let's be honest, a little like heroes. And because your friends and family know you so well, their recommendations are often more aligned with your personality than an algorithm could ever achieve. Plus, there's something inherently comforting about meeting someone who's already vouched for by someone you trust. Now, I get it. You might be thinking, doesn't this feel desperate or awkward? Absolutely not. Framing is everything. You're not begging for help. You're empowering the people in your life to contribute to your happiness. And if someone sets you up with a dud, that's okay. Every connection is a step closer to finding the right person. At the very least, you'll have stories to laugh about later. This isn't just about finding a partner. It's about letting love come from a place of community and care. It's about reminding yourself that you're not alone in this journey. When you crowdsource your soulmate, you're reclaiming your right to love while letting others celebrate the incredible person you are. So here's the takeaway. Don't let pride or hesitation hold you back. Share your intentions, invite your tribe into your journey, and watch what happens. Love doesn't have to be a solo quest. Sometimes the most beautiful connections come from the people who already care about you. And when it happens, you'll know. It wasn't just love that brought you together. It was a community rooting for your happiness. Number 4, 30-day Love Boot Camp. Here's the thing about love. We often treat it like it's supposed to just happen, like an unplanned miracle that drops into our laps while we're least expecting it. But what if I told you that love, real, meaningful love, thrives on intention? What if finding it wasn't about waiting, but about preparing yourself to be ready for it? Sounds a bit like training for a marathon, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly where the idea of a 30-day love boot camp comes in. And before you roll your eyes and think this is just another self-help gimmick, hear me out. This is not about becoming someone you're not. It's about tuning into who you already are and leveling up in ways you didn't even realize you could. We've all been there, caught in that cycle of bad dates, confusing signals, and wondering if it's us or just the world being impossibly complicated. Maybe you've found yourself scrolling through dating apps, judging people by their photos, or over-analyzing a "hey" text for hours. Or maybe you've taken a step back altogether, telling yourself you're better off alone because, honestly, it's less exhausting. Sound familiar? Trust me, you're not alone. But here's the catch. While we're sitting back waiting for love to find us, we're missing the chance to actively create space for it. So, what exactly is the 30-day Love Bootcamp? It's a month-long commitment to yourself. It's not about finding the one, but about becoming the one, someone who feels whole, confident, and ready to connect. The idea is to dedicate 30 days to intentional self-work, where each day focuses on small, actionable steps to enhance your emotional well-being, refine your communication skills, and yes, even improve how you approach love. This isn't just about self-love in the cliché sense. It's about preparing yourself for the kind of love you deserve. Think about it. Athletes train for months to perform at their best. Students study for exams to ace their tests. And yet, when it comes to love, the most important relationship in our lives, we often wing it. Why? The 30-day Love Bootcamp flips that narrative. Each day you'll tackle a challenge. One day you might practice gratitude by listing what you love about yourself, and the next, you could focus on vulnerability by having an honest conversation with someone close to you. You'll explore your attachment style, learn to identify red flags without ignoring green ones, and discover how to set boundaries that feel empowering, not scary. I'll never forget when I first tried something like this. It was the second week, and the task was to practice saying no to anything that didn't align with my values. At work, a colleague asked me to take on an extra project I knew I couldn't handle, and instead of my usual, "Sure, I can figure it out," I paused and said, "I can't take this on right now." Let me tell you, the freedom in that moment was a game changer. That same week, I ended a situationship I'd been clinging to out of fear of being alone. Saying no to things that drained me made space for the things that truly nourished me, and that included love. This boot camp isn't about turning you into some perfect version of yourself. It's about showing up as the real you, unapologetically, and being ready to give and receive love with authenticity and clarity. By the end of the 30 days, you won't just feel like you're waiting for love. You'll feel like you're attracting it, like you're finally in the driver's seat. So here's your challenge. Commit to this. Not for anyone else, but for yourself. Start small, stay consistent, and watch how your mindset and relationships transform. Love isn't just about finding someone else. It's about discovering and embracing every part of yourself along the way. This is your boot camp, your journey, your love story waiting to unfold. Number 5, the zero rejection rule. What if I told you there's a way to never feel rejected again? I know, bold claim, right? But stick with me here. Imagine a mindset where rejection doesn't sting, where it doesn't make you question your worth or spiral into overthinking. Instead, it becomes something you can shake off. No drama, no heartache, just clarity and growth. Intrigued? Let me introduce you to the zero rejection rule. And no, it's not about avoiding tough situations or shielding yourself from the world. It's about changing the way you see rejection altogether. Yes, trust me on this. It's not what you think. We've all been there, haven't we? Whether it's a job application ghosted by an employer, a text left on read, or someone you care about pulling away without explanation. That hollow feeling in your chest? The little voice in your head whispering, "What's wrong with me?" Yeah, it's the worst. And if you're anything like me, you've probably spent hours, maybe days, replaying every detail, searching for where it all went wrong. But here's the thing, rejection isn't about you. I know that's hard to believe in the moment, but hear me out. The zero rejection rule is simple yet transformative. It flips the script on rejection by teaching you to see it as redirection, not a verdict on your worth. When someone says no, whether directly or indirectly, it's not you they're rejecting. It's their preferences, their priorities, their timing. It's about them, not you. The rule is about detaching your sense of self-worth from external outcomes. It's not a reflection of who you are. It's a signal that something wasn't aligned, and that's okay. Here's the why behind it. Our brains are wired to seek validation. It's a survival mechanism. When we feel rejected, it activates the same parts of the brain as physical pain. That's why it feels so visceral. But here's the twist. When we take rejection personally, we're giving someone else power over our emotions. The zero rejection rule hands that power back to you. It's about saying, "This isn't my loss. It's my chance to move towards something or someone better suited for me." Let me share a story. A few years ago, I applied for what I thought was my dream job. I spent days crafting the perfect application, rehearsed every possible interview question, and gave it everything I had. And you know what? I didn't get it. For weeks, I was stuck in a loop of self-doubt, convinced I wasn't good enough. But then, a mentor told me something that changed my perspective forever. Sometimes, rejection saves you from the wrong fit. A month later, a completely different opportunity came my way, one that aligned perfectly with my skills and values. Looking back, I realized the first rejection wasn't a failure, it was a step towards something far better. This isn't about sugarcoating rejection or pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about reframing it so it doesn't define you. The zero rejection rule is about reclaiming your power, your confidence, and your peace. Every no is a chance to grow, to refine what you want, and to move closer to what truly fits. It's about trusting that the right opportunities, people, and paths will never require you to beg for a seat at the table. So, the next time rejection sneaks up on you, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what am I being redirected toward? Because there's always something waiting, a better job, a deeper connection, a clearer sense of purpose. This is about freeing yourself from the fear of rejection and stepping into a mindset of abundance and possibility. You are not defined by the doors that close. You are defined by the courage to keep walking toward the ones that open. This is your power, your peace, and your dignity. Let rejection be the nudge that points you in the right direction. The zero rejection rule isn't just an idea, it's a way to live. And it's time you start living it. Number 6, date for the data. Imagine this. Your next date is less about candlelit dinners and moonlit walks, and more about spreadsheets and algorithms. Sounds unromantic? Hold on. It's actually brilliant. Let me introduce you to an unconventional way to approach love. Date for the data. And no, I'm not suggesting you hand out surveys or start a pie chart mid-conversation. What I'm talking about is embracing the power of observation, curiosity, and a little bit of experimentation to uncover what truly works for you in relationships. Trust me, it's a game changer. You know the pattern, right? You meet someone, you click, and then, boom, you're caught in a whirlwind of emotions before you've had a chance to figure out if they're even compatible with you. We've all been there, swept up in the romance and ignoring the red flags because maybe this time it'll be different. But here's the hard truth. If you keep doing the same thing, you'll keep getting the same results. So why not approach dating with the mindset of a scientist instead of a hopeless romantic? Here's the concept. Dating isn't just about finding the one. It's about learning. Learning what you like, what you don't, and what you absolutely can't compromise on. Every date, every interaction is a little experiment that gives you valuable data. What makes you laugh? What makes you feel safe? What are the little things that drive you absolutely nuts? This isn't about being cold or calculating. It's about being intentional. Think of it as your personal research project, where the outcome is a relationship that actually aligns with your values and needs. Now, let me share a personal example. A few years ago, I went on a series of dates with the goal of figuring out what I really wanted in a partner. One person was incredibly charming but constantly late. Another was thoughtful but struggled with communication. And then there was someone who didn't check every box on my mental list, but made me feel seen and understood in a way I'd never experienced before. By focusing on how each experience made me feel, and not just on whether they fit my ideal, I started to see patterns. I realized that punctuality mattered less to me than emotional depth, and shared humor was a non-negotiable. These weren't things I could have figured out from a checklist. I needed the data to make those discoveries. This approach doesn't mean turning every date into a rigid evaluation session. It's about being present and curious. Pay attention to the little things. How do they treat the waiter? How do you feel after spending time with them? Energized, anxious, indifferent. These moments are your clues. The beauty of this mindset is that no date is ever wasted, even if there's no spark. You're still walking away with insight into what works for you and what doesn't. And here's the empowering part. Date for the data is about taking control. It's about shifting from a passive, "I hope they like me," to an active, "Do they align with what I'm looking for?" This is about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your emotional well-being. It's a way to stop settling for almost right and start seeking out what feels genuinely fulfilling. So, the next time you're about to swipe right or say yes to a date, think of it as an opportunity, not just to meet someone new, but to learn something new about yourself. This isn't just dating. It's discovery, it's growth, it's figuring out one interaction at a time what a healthy, happy, and sustainable relationship looks like for you. And if nothing else, you'll walk away with a great story or a funny anecdote, and maybe even a bar chart of lessons learned. Remember, every moment counts, every experience teaches, and every piece of data gets you closer to the love you deserve. Number 7. Reverse engineer your love life. What if I told you the key to finding the right relationship isn't swiping endlessly or perfecting your dating profile? Instead, it's about flipping the script entirely and working backward. Yep, you heard me right. To find the love you want, you've got to reverse engineer your love life. Sounds strange? Stay with me. It's simpler and more effective than it sounds. Think about it. When we want to achieve something in any other area of life, be it career, fitness, or even a creative project, we start with the end goal in mind. We imagine the desired outcome, break it down into actionable steps, and work backward to figure out how to get there. But in relationships, most of us just wing it, hoping the right person will magically appear without any real clarity on what right even means. And then we wonder why we keep attracting the wrong people. Here's where this gets relatable. You know those moments where you're sitting there, post-breakup or after a particularly awkward date, thinking, why do I keep ending up here? We've all been there. It's like trying to bake a cake without a recipe. You're just throwing ingredients together and hoping it works. But what if, instead, you could picture the kind of relationship you want, down to the smallest details, and then figure out the exact ingredients needed to make it happen? Reverse engineering your love life starts with one question: what does my ideal relationship look and feel like? Notice I didn't say, what does my ideal partner look like? Because this isn't about obsessing over surface-level traits. It's about envisioning the type of connection, values, and lifestyle you want to share with someone. Do you want a relationship full of laughter and spontaneous adventures? Or maybe one that feels grounded, supportive, and emotionally secure? Get specific. Once you've painted that picture, the next step is to look at the path that leads there. Here's the kicker. Reverse engineering isn't just about figuring out what you need in a partner. It's also about understanding what you bring to the table. Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I realized I kept attracting people who were fun but emotionally unavailable. So I flipped the script and asked myself, what kind of person would I need to be to attract someone who's emotionally present? That question changed everything. It made me take a hard look at my own patterns and behaviors. I realized I wasn't always showing up as emotionally open as I thought I was, which was attracting the same in others. By focusing on becoming the kind of partner I wanted to attract, I started to notice a shift, not just in the people I dated, but in how I approached love altogether. This strategy is powerful because it puts the control back in your hands. Instead of passively waiting for love to happen, you're actively designing the roadmap. It's not about manipulating outcomes or turning relationships into a science project. It's about intentionality, being clear on what you want and aligning your actions to create it. It also means recognizing the gaps and being honest with yourself about where you might need to grow. The beauty of reverse engineering your love life is that it's liberating. It takes the pressure off finding the one and shifts the focus to creating the conditions for the love you deserve. And let's be real, how satisfying is it to know that you're not just hoping for love to work out, but actively building a foundation for something meaningful? So, start today. Take a moment to envision your ideal relationship. Break it down. What steps do you need to take to get there? What patterns do you need to break? What qualities do you want to embody in yourself? This is your blueprint for love, crafted by none other than you. Because love isn't just about finding someone, it's about creating a partnership that feels like home. And that starts with knowing the destination before you even take the first step. Number 8, the attraction audit. What if I told you that the secret to attracting the right people, opportunities, and even relationships into your life isn't about trying harder? It's about doing a little self-inventory. That's right. Instead of chasing what you want, let's talk about the attraction audit. It's a game changer, and no, it doesn't involve crystals, vision boards, or manifesting under a full moon, although no judgment if that's your thing. This is about real, tangible shifts you can make, starting today, to align with what you truly desire. Now let's be honest. We've all had those moments where we stop and think, why do I keep attracting the wrong situations or people? Whether it's flaky friends, a toxic work environment, or relationships that feel more draining than fulfilling, the pattern starts to feel painfully familiar. You know the type. It starts off promising, and then you're left wondering where it all went sideways. Here's the hard truth. Sometimes it's not about what you're attracting, but what you're allowing into your life. That's where the audit comes in. The attraction audit is about getting brutally honest with yourself. It starts with asking, what am I putting out into the world, and does it match what I want to receive? Sounds simple, but think about it. If you're seeking kindness, are you showing up as kind? If you want respect, are you setting boundaries that demand it? Often we think attraction is about others, what they do, what they bring, but it starts with us. It's a reflection, not a transaction. Let me give you a real-life example. A friend of mine, let's call her Maya, always seemed to attract people who took advantage of her generosity. She was the type who'd drop everything to help, even if it meant compromising her own needs. When she finally did her attraction audit, she realized that her overly accommodating nature was sending the message that her time and energy were unlimited. She wasn't drawing a line, so others weren't respecting it. The moment she started setting boundaries, politely but firmly, the dynamics shifted. The takers naturally fell away, and she began to attract relationships where her kindness was valued, not exploited. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how do I start this so-called audit? Here's the thing. It's not about perfection. It's about awareness. Start by jotting down 3 things you want to attract into your life. Maybe it's deeper friendships, career opportunities, or a sense of peace. Next, ask yourself, am I embodying the qualities that align with these things? If you want deeper friendships, are you showing up as a trustworthy and present friend? If you want career opportunities, are you actively seeking growth or just wishing for a breakthrough? This isn't about self-criticism. It's about self-alignment. The beauty of the attraction audit is how empowering it feels. It shifts the narrative from "why is this happening to me?" to "what can I adjust to change the outcome?" It's not about blaming yourself for past patterns, but taking charge of the future. And trust me, when you start making those small intentional shifts, the results can feel almost magical. The right people start to notice, the right opportunities seem to appear. And no, it's not luck, it's alignment. So take the time to do your audit, reflect, adjust, and align. This isn't just about attracting what you want, it's about becoming the person who naturally draws it in. Because when you show up as the version of yourself that's ready to receive, the universe has no choice but to meet you halfway. Number 9. Love as a business deal. What if I told you that love, at its core, is a lot like a business deal? Wait, don't click away just yet. I'm not suggesting you start handing out contracts or making spreadsheets about who does the dishes, although that might not be a bad idea. What I mean is, love thrives on balance, clear communication, and mutual respect, just like any successful partnership. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds cold. Love should be about emotions, not contracts. But hear me out. The truth is, the most fulfilling relationships are the ones where both parties feel seen, heard, and valued. And that's something we can all agree is worth investing in. You've probably been there, finding yourself in a relationship where one person is doing all the giving and the other is, well, doing a little less. Or maybe you've felt that nagging sense of being taken for granted. It's frustrating, right? Relationships are supposed to feel easy, but sometimes it seems like the scales are tipped in one direction. You know the type. Someone who loves the idea of being with you, but isn't always willing to show up with the same level of care or effort. But what if that imbalance was something we could fix, just by taking a step back and approaching it with a fresh perspective? Here's where the love as a business deal concept comes in. Just like in any successful venture, both partners should have clear expectations, boundaries, and a shared vision. And no, that doesn't mean you're turning your romantic life into a transactional relationship. What it means is that you're setting the foundation for a relationship where both people are equally invested in the growth and well-being of each other. Think of it as a partnership where both are working towards the same goal, a happy, healthy, and fulfilling connection. Let's take a look at a real-life example. I have a friend, let's call her Sarah. She was in a relationship for a few years where she gave so much of her time and energy, always trying to keep the peace and make the other person happy. But over time, it started feeling like she was the one doing all the heavy lifting. After talking about it with a mentor, she realized that she wasn't asking for what she needed in return. She was letting her needs go unspoken. So she sat down with her partner and had an honest conversation about what she needed, what they both wanted, and what they were willing to contribute. It wasn't a cold transaction, but it was clear communication about what was fair and what felt right. The result? They began working together as a team, and the relationship felt more balanced and rewarding for both of them. Now you might be thinking, that sounds simple, but how do I actually start making these changes? Start by recognizing that love, like any valuable business, requires both parties to show up with intentional effort. It means recognizing your worth, communicating openly about your needs, and being clear about what you want from the relationship. It's not about being demanding, but about being honest, because when you are, the right person will appreciate that clarity and respect it. This approach isn't just practical, it's empowering. It's about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your dignity. It's about ensuring that your emotional investments are being matched by the same level of commitment, care, and effort from your partner. No more over-explanation, no more self-doubt. Just clear, respectful communication that fosters equality. So here's your takeaway. Approach your relationships like a business deal, not in a cold, calculating way, but with clarity, respect, and a shared commitment to growth. Your time, your heart, and your energy are worth investing in, and when you treat them that way, you'll attract the same level of respect and effort in return. Because at the end of the day, love isn't about sacrifices, it's about thriving together. Number 10, the social calendar strategy. Have you ever felt like your social life is spiraling out of control, with every weekend packed with events you didn't even remember agreeing to? You know, the type of situation where you're saying yes to everything, and by the time it rolls around, you're exhausted, overwhelmed, and wondering why you even agreed in the first place. Trust me, I've been there too. You start the week with grand plans to relax or tackle a personal project, but somehow, by Friday, it's all about juggling social obligations. And let's be real, it's not the fun kind of juggling. Now, before you go thinking, but I don't want to be rude or miss out, let's flip the script a little. Here's an idea I know sounds a bit unconventional, but hear me out. What if your social life could be strategic? I know it might sound a bit corporate, like you're scheduling fun instead of living it, but stay with me. What if I told you that the solution to feeling overwhelmed and overcommitted isn't about saying no more often, but about creating a social calendar strategy? Yes, a calendar. It's not just for work. Imagine having one spot where you can plan out your social events, so you don't feel like you're constantly reacting to every invite that comes your way. I can already hear you asking, but doesn't that take the spontaneity out of things? And the short answer is, no, it doesn't. The key here is structure, not restriction. It's about being intentional with your time, which means you're not just saying yes because you feel guilty. You're choosing what fills your calendar based on what truly brings you joy, connection, and growth. It's about treating your time as a precious resource, the way you would with a work project or a personal goal. When you make room for the things that matter most to you, everything else falls into place. Let me give you an example. A while ago, I found myself saying yes to every invitation that came my way, whether it was a last-minute dinner or a group outing. And at first, it felt good. But then, it felt like my social calendar was a never-ending list of commitments that drained me. It wasn't that I didn't want to see my friends, it was just that I wasn't in a place to give my best self. That's when I started using a social calendar strategy. Every month, I'd map out the key events I really wanted to attend: birthdays, meaningful hangouts, or activities that aligned with my goals. The rest, I'd either decline politely or suggest a later time if it didn't feel like a good fit. You know what happened? I started feeling more energized and present when I actually did hang out, instead of rushing from one thing to the next. The emotional payoff here is huge. It's about reclaiming your time, your mental energy, and your sense of balance. You don't have to be the busy person who does it all, nor do you have to feel guilty for saying no. Instead, you're taking control of your calendar, curating it like you would your wardrobe or your home. And it doesn't just improve your social life, it boosts your mental well-being because you're no longer stretched too thin. Here's your takeaway. Plan your social life like a strategy. By being intentional about the events you prioritize, you're actually creating space for the relationships and experiences that truly matter to you. So start putting your time where your heart is. Because when you manage your social calendar with clarity, you're investing in your peace, your energy, and the quality of your connections. Your time is precious. Treat it like it is, and watch your life become more fulfilling, not more chaotic. Number 11. Exit the friend zone. Deliberately, ever feel like you're stuck in the friend zone, knowing deep down that you want more but unsure how to escape without ruining the friendship? Yeah, we've all been there. It's that awkward space where you're constantly questioning whether the vibe is right, whether they see you as more than just a buddy, and how to even make a move without it being super weird. You might be thinking, but what if I lose their friendship? Or, how do I even know if they feel the same way? Trust me on this. What if the key isn't waiting for some magical shift to happen, but actually deliberately choosing to exit the friend zone on your terms? Here's the thing. Too many people fall into the trap of hoping that their crush will eventually realize they're more than just a friend. And yes, that's a nice thought. But it's rarely how things go down. The truth is, getting out of the friend zone requires action, but it doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about it. It's about being intentional with your approach and taking control of the situation in a way that feels natural, respectful, and, most importantly, empowering. This isn't about playing games or trying to read someone's mind. It's about clarity, communication, and creating the space for the kind of relationship you want. Think about it. How many times have you felt frustrated, waiting for the other person to make the first move, only to watch time slip by while nothing changes? You know the type. That friend who is always there for you, but you never quite know if they'd ever look at you any differently. Here's where it gets interesting. Rather than waiting for them to magically see you as more, what if you started making your feelings clear in a subtle yet deliberate way? This doesn't mean bombarding them with declarations of love or making things awkward. It means allowing your actions and words to reflect your true feelings without over-explaining or apologizing for them. I remember a time when I was in a similar spot, friends with someone for years, enjoying each other's company, but there was always that sense that something deeper was simmering beneath the surface. I was constantly walking that fine line, terrified that a conversation about us might ruin everything. But one day I just decided enough was enough. I made it a point to spend time with them one-on-one, creating moments that allowed us to connect on a deeper level. And you know what happened? Slowly, without all the build-up and pressure, we started talking about our feelings in a way that felt completely natural. We didn't have to pretend it wasn't there anymore. And even though it was a little uncomfortable at first, it led to something more meaningful because we were honest and upfront about what we wanted. The emotional payoff here is huge. By deliberately choosing to exit the friend zone, you're not just taking a chance on love, you're also reclaiming your peace and self-respect. No more waiting around, no more second-guessing. This is about you being confident enough to put your feelings on the table, even if it feels scary. And let's be real, you're not a mind reader. So if you don't make your intentions clear, how can you ever know if they're on the same page? Here's the empowering takeaway. You deserve the relationship you want, and it starts with you making the first move. Exit the friend zone with intention, clarity, and confidence. It's not about being pushy or dramatic. It's about creating the space for both of you to explore what's possible without fear of rejection or miscommunication. Because when you step into your own power and put your feelings on the line, you show yourself and the other person that you're worth the risk. And that, my friend, is how you make love happen deliberately. Number 12. Pragmatic polygamy, temporarily. What if I told you that there's a way to be honest with yourself about your relationships without all the guilt and drama that typically surrounds the topic of dating multiple people at once? Yes, you heard me right. Pragmatic polygamy. Now, before you raise your eyebrows or stop reading because you think I'm suggesting something scandalous or irresponsible, let me explain. This isn't about juggling relationships just for the fun of it. It's about embracing the temporary and pragmatic approach to love and connection. It's a strategy that acknowledges the complexity of human emotions and relationships, while also offering a realistic way to navigate them. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't this just playing with people's feelings? Or doesn't that kind of thing just lead to heartbreak? I get it. It can sound like a bit of a minefield. But hear me out for a second. What if you could date multiple people or explore multiple connections, but with full transparency, respect, and the understanding that it's temporary or situational? Instead of the all-or-nothing mentality that society often places on relationships, pragmatic polygamy is about being clear on what you want and setting boundaries that work for everyone involved, without pretending or leading anyone on. It's not about commitment phobia. It's about conscious choice. We've all been there, that moment when you're dating someone, but you feel like something's missing, and yet you don't want to risk what you have. Or maybe you're in that confusing space where you're talking to multiple people but feel like you're doing something wrong. The truth is, it's natural to be curious about exploring different connections. We don't always find that perfect fit right away, and sometimes our hearts or minds are in different places. Yet it's easy to get caught in the trap of guilt or confusion, thinking we should settle for just one person right now, even if we're not ready for that kind of exclusivity. That's where a temporary pragmatic approach comes into play. It allows for personal growth and exploration without the added emotional pressure. Take a look at my own experience. I found myself in a situation where I was dating someone, but I also felt drawn to someone else. Instead of suppressing that feeling or feeling ashamed about it, I decided to have an honest conversation. I explained where I was mentally and emotionally, how I valued the connection I had, but I also wanted to explore other relationships while keeping things light and respectful. It wasn't about not committing, it was about being open and honest, understanding that people evolve, connections change, and sometimes timing is everything. The result? Surprisingly, we all walked away with a better understanding of what we needed, and nobody felt misled. It was liberating. The emotional freedom here is key. Pragmatic polygamy isn't about running from commitment or avoiding real connections. It's about reclaiming your ability to choose what fits you in the moment. And in the process, you can avoid the exhaustion that comes from pretending you're something you're not. No more over-explaining yourself to appease others or backtracking because of guilt. You can move through relationships with respect, clarity, and most importantly, empowerment. You owe it to yourself to choose your connections consciously, instead of waiting for a perfect or conventional path to appear. So here's the bottom line. Embrace the temporary nature of some relationships and see where they lead. It's not about minimizing anyone's feelings or taking the easy route. It's about trusting yourself to be authentic, transparent, and kind, without the pressure to conform to outdated ideals, because ultimately, it's your journey. And taking control of that journey in a conscious, intentional way is a strength, not a weakness. Embrace pragmatic polygamy when it fits, and let it show you just how liberating it can be to stay true to your evolving needs. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video gave you some valuable insights into a more realistic and empowering approach to finding love. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like the video. It really helps out the channel. And if you want more content on topics like this, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update. Feel free to share this video with someone who might be looking for a fresh perspective on love. It could make all the difference. I'd also love to hear your thoughts or any personal experiences you'd like to share in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going and build a supportive community where we can all learn and grow together. Remember, love isn't about finding perfection. It's about creating something real and meaningful. You've got the power to make it happen. Stay true to yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.